Hello, everybody.
Howdy. Another cold day here in New Mexico. It ain't ever gonna quit snowing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I had to put the hat on. My ears were cold.
Black and blue, you might give somebody the wrong idea. So what are we doing today?
Okay. Hello to everybody. There's a question that we get asked a lot in talking to those who have left Watchtower, and they're like, how do I counteract when my JW family says, well, this must be proof that this is Jehovah's organization because of all the wonderful things they are doing earthwide. Nobody does the preaching work earthwide like we do. You know, nobody has the growth that we do. You know, they claim witnesses are the fastest growing religion in the world.
And it's really easy to make that statement when the only source of information that Jehovah's Witnesses are getting is from Watchtower alone. They watch these JW broadcasts, you know, my favorite little clown Lett, and then they, like in January 2016's broadcast, they're showing how a Kingdom Hall is progressively being built in some island area, somewhere in the South Pacific. I'm not sure where. Micronesia. But it's easy for a Jehovah's Witness to keep making that statement when they don't bother to take the time and look at what other religions are doing and making a fair comparison.
Yeah. Now, we don't endorse any religions whatsoever.
But you did happen to pick a big one.
Yeah.
A big religion.
Yeah. Mainly because we're friends with Bob and Karma. Hi, guys.
Hi.
And they are Mormons.
Yes. And, you know, the other thing is when you listen to what a Jehovah's Witness says when they say that they're the fastest growing, no other religion is doing this, then it's easy to make a comparison when you have the statistics of another large religion.
But we know Jehovah's Witnesses will not go to this website, mormonnewsroom.org, to check out their statistics. We know they're not going to do that. We also know they're not going to go to the National Council of Churches to see what the fastest growing religions are. And according to that website, the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, are the second fastest growing. Now, what's interesting...
That's in the United States. Fastest growing church in the United States.
Yes. Now, what's interesting is because the Mormon on their website here cautions against overemphasis on growth statistics. The church makes no statistical comparisons with other churches and makes no claim to be the fastest growing Christian denomination despite frequent news media comments to that effect.
But whereas Jehovah's Witnesses will readily throw that out there,
oh,
won't they?
Yeah. Every year, the yearbook, you know, just full of how great they're doing. Well, January's
broadcast. As if
broadcast.
It means something. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this January broadcast is, look at all the wonderful things we are doing, you know, all the growth we are doing and all the remote translating offices we're building.
Yeah, but wasn't it just back in October when they read a letter showing that they were stopping a lot of their building projects because of... well, one can only assume lack of funds.
Yeah. Yep. But what's interesting is the Mormon website here, it says that such comparisons rarely take into account the multiple complex factors such as activity rates and death rates. See, Watchtower won't give you the death rates of how many...
Yeah, you just got to kind of do the math backwards and figure out how many they've lost in the previous year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to compare Jehovah's Witnesses, and hopefully for those of you who have been asking, how can I answer, you know, my JW family, because it kind of catches them off guard and they don't know how to answer because, you know, let's face it, who goes and does research about that until you're actually asked?
See, and here's the thing, that if you're going to do that, you're going to have to let your Jehovah's Witness family know that they're basing their perceived fact that Jehovah's blessing them solely on statistics. Numbers baptized, numbers of kingdom halls that they're building. So when a current Jehovah's Witness makes this statement, it's based on statistics that are given by Watchtower, and the only way that you can logically answer that is to show comparison of other religions with statistics. Now, whether they're going to buy it at that time or not, which more likely they're going to say, well, those are just false religion. We're the fastest true, growing true religion. Well, that's another whole argument, really. So let's look at some statistics from the Mormon Church. Now, this is going to be 2014 statistics?
Yes, because the Mormon Church has not come out with their 2015 statistics quite yet. So this is actually from last year. Okay. So, whereas Watchtower's numbers that we are using is from 2015, this is from the 2016 yearbook. But I just wanted to mention real quick here from the Mormon website that congregations that are grouped into geographical areas known as wards are periodically divided as they become too large to administer or to worship in a chapel or meeting house all at once. New buildings are being completed virtually every day of the year in order to house growing membership.
Now, when you look at this website, you will see that as of December 3rd, 2015, didn't they just put a new church up in Albuquerque?
Yeah, they have 14 chapels or congregations just in Albuquerque now alone. Yep. So, all right, so now we're going to do some comparing here, which is very interesting. Now, what is interesting, this is my favorite, I love this, is Jehovah's Witnesses yearbook has just the number of baptized, 260,273. Now, they don't tell you how many of those are actually children of Jehovah's Witnesses.
And you can assume that there's quite a few, because when you look at the JW broadcasts of these conventions, you're seeing a large number of Jehovah's Witness children being baptized. So you can assume that this 200,000 plus also includes the children. It's not just new converts, it's the children.
So let's see how the 260,000 plus baptized compares to the Mormon Church. The Mormon Church in 2014, now I love this because they say converts baptized. This is not all of them. This is only converts baptized. 296,803. So what is that? 36,000 more. And this is converts.
Right.
This isn't all total. Now, I put a call into Bob and Carmen. They haven't got back to me yet because right above the converts baptized, they have new children of record. Now, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with their beliefs to know if they baptize children when they're born or if they have to be a certain age. I don't know if this new children of record is for one's baptized or one's born, because it's 116,409. That's quite a few. Now, when you go to the actual membership, witnesses claim average publishers preaching each month. Now, this is publishers that they count. This is not membership. Average publishers, 7.9 million. Okay? Worldwide membership of the Mormon Church is 15,372,337. So it's almost double.
Oh, it's a little more than double, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little more than double. So here again, if these Jehovah's Witness family members are throwing statistics at you, statistics don't lie. So if you're basing your religion as being the true religion on statistics only, then the Mormons have got you beat, Jehovah's Witnesses. It's as simple as that.
Now, what's interesting, I love this, is when you look, and they only have 29,621 congregations. And it's like, what in the world? Because we know Jehovah's Witnesses, okay, well, let's just see how many congregations they have worldwide. 118,016 congregations. Now, we know the average publishers in a congregation is what? About 80 to 100, maybe 120, somewhere around in there. We'll just use 100 average, since that's easier to figure out.
So, Jehovah's Witnesses have 118,016 congregation with a total of per congregation maybe 100 people.
Yes.
But the Mormons only have 29,621 congregations.
But when you do the math, that's 519 average members per congregation.
Yeah.
So that's almost 5 times the amount of members in a congregation. And what's interesting is when you start watching their videos and they show their congregations within their chapels or meeting places, they show full, packed to the capacity congregations. Whereas Watchtower, you watch their meetings that they have on YouTube and their conventions and stuff, and it's like half empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, now another interesting thing is they have 173 temples in the process. Now temples, from what I understand, are like sacred places, like kind of like they're most holy. So, they're not used just for like everyday worship type thing like what congregations are.
Probably used for special ceremonious occasions, I'll bet.
Yeah. Now their missionary program, Mormons have 85,000 missionaries. But then they have church service missionaries, 30,404. So, and then Watchtower.
Well, it shows that they're very active in the missionary work, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just like Watchtower. So there's the statistics that you can't rightfully compare to show that you're the fastest growing, or Jehovah's got to be using you because of all your growth.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is because the average pioneer publishers each month for Watchtower is 1.1 million. But when you add these together of the Mormon Church, it's like 115,000. Which sounds less, but then you get into the humanitarian aid.
Right.
They are doing humanitarian aid in 185,000 countries. 185 countries. Now, what's interesting is you cannot look this up in Watchtower on jw.org because they have no humanitarian aid. And their welfare services missionaries is 10,403. So those are just the missionaries who are in the welfare services. Another category that Watchtower will not have, education. Mormons have 4 universities and colleges with almost 400,000 students enrolled. So they care about educating their education. Members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now another thing, did you cover the branches? I think you missed the branches.
Did we do the branches?
No,
all right, let's do the branches.
Okay.
Jehovah's Witnesses have 89 branches worldwide.
Worldwide, the Mormon Church has 7,349. So Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're going to be statistics driven, in using statistics as a point of reference that God is using your organization, you absolutely and miserably fail compared to the Mormon Church.
Yeah.
You fail.
As we know, since we are friends with, Mormons, is there are some countries that witnesses are not allowed into.
Yeah, right.
But yet the Mormons are allowed in there because they're not as extremist
as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. So, as far as preaching work, saying, no other church is getting this preaching work done like Jehovah's Witnesses. We beg to differ because there's so many different other religions that are getting this preaching work of the gospel of Jesus Christ preached throughout the world.
Well, here's an interesting fact. Matthew 28:19 and 20, Jesus said, "Go therefore and make disciples of people of all the nations, baptizing them," yada, yada, yada. How do you think Charles Taze Russell learned the truth without the door-to-door ministry work?
He read his Bible.
Exactly.
And they have him as the faithful steward right on his
Yeah, exactly. The point being, Jehovah's Witnesses, is that you don't need to go from door to door to tell the good news of Christ. All you have to do is just read a good Bible and you'll get the good news. Simple as that. But we do know that in Watchtower philosophy, there's a lot of things that they misattribute to their God Jehovah, don't they?
Yeah, and January's broadcast is a good example of that because the whole thing is, look at all the growth we're doing, accomplishing all these wonderful things. Look at all the remote translating offices we have constructed. And, it's interesting because when you listen to the May broadcast again, when Lett says that they have all these remote translating offices planned, and then Samuel Hurd reads this letter in October that they, shutting down a lot of those or canceling or delaying or stuff. But in the January broadcast, they're showing all these remote translating offices that they have done. And the May broadcast said that each one of these was going to cost at least $1 million.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all this, and it's like ka-ching, 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 money, money, money.
Well, like I said, they're sending mixed messages, aren't they?
Oh,
they're
yeah.
very much sending mixed messages.
Yeah. But we have a clip here, and we thought this was interesting because we caught a few things in this.
Are you talking about the miracle sand?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is actually quite disturbing when you look at the comparison that Kim and I will make after the fact.
Yeah.
So,
because, they are saying that this was Jehovah's blessing, and, thankfully the one island didn't get any damage because, the storm turned. So let's show the clip.
Now, we've seen Jehovah's hand many times throughout the years on our projects. One that stands out to us is the Ryret congregation in particular. This congregation had been meeting in a house for a number of years, and they'd have 70, 80, 90 in attendance at times. But they would sit outside because they couldn't fit in the house, and many of them would listen through the window or observe through the door. It would rain, and they'd have a tarp set up just to try to keep dry. So we found this piece of property, but the problem was that the government had just placed a ban on dredging sand and coral out of the ocean or off the beaches. Without having that, we wouldn't be able to mix our concrete to accomplish our project. So there was one company on the island that had stockpiled sand and aggregate. We had gone to them a number of times, asking them if we could purchase just 8 yards of cement for our footings so that we could at least get started. And they kept denying our request. And the construction overseer and myself decided we'd go one more time to that cement company and plead our case with them. Well, we pulled into the parking lot of the company and discussed maybe what we could say to convince them to at least sell us the 8 yards that we needed. We made it a matter of prayer again, and we both exited the vehicle. And as we were approaching the doors of the company, this blue pickup pulled in and kind of intercepted us. The gentleman, local man, hopped out of his truck and said, "Can I help you?" And he was the man who was in charge. Well, we explained our situation, and he said, "Well, you'll have your concrete the next morning." What was interesting about that, and which really made us feel like Jehovah had a hand in the matter, was that gentleman had just flown in the night before from another island. He had been gone for quite some time. He had pulled in, talked to us, and then hopped back in his truck and drove away. So we wondered, why did he pull in the first place? Well, we didn't want to argue with it, and we just took advantage of the situation, and the next morning, 7 o'clock, the truck rolled in and we poured our footings. So we kept moving forward with the project till we got to that stage where we would need to fill the block work with 80 yards of sand on an island with no sand. So again, we made it a matter of prayer and knew that if, again, Jehovah wanted it built, it would be built. So we scoured the island again to see if there was anybody willing, and we were unsuccessful. So on our way back to the construction site, the construction overseer and I stopped at a store to purchase something, and we were talking to the gentleman behind the counter, explained the situation to him, and the man asked, "Well, how much sand do you need?" And we told him, 80 yards, which is quite a bit. And the man said, "Well, I have 90 yards in my backyard. I don't have anything to do with it, so you're more than welcome to it." And he said, "When do you need it?" I said, "Well, we need it tomorrow morning." And the man said, "Well, I have a dump truck too, so I'll see you in the morning." Well, the next morning he showed up, and we were able to fill that area and move on with the project. Another experience that really stands out to me is an experience we had on the island of Yap. We were doing a renovation of remote translation office, and an extension of the Kingdom Hall because of the growth that they've had in the congregation. They've outgrown their Kingdom Hall. So for that extension, we would need cement and sand for backfill. And again, this was an island, which is ironic that you can't really get sand on because there's no companies that sell it. So what you do is you go from village to village, asking the village chief if he would be willing to sell sand off of his beach. Well, after visiting all the villages, no one was willing to sell any of their sand that we needed until we reached the last village, which was willing to sell the sand. But the problem was there was a dispute between two chiefs that bordered that beach. And one chief said, no, that's my sand. The other one said it was his sand. Well, they couldn't come to an agreement, so they weren't willing to sell the sand to us. So we were at the stage where we were getting ready to need it in a few days so we could move forward with the extension of the Kingdom Hall. At that point, things got worse because there was a typhoon approaching the island. So we just had the construction crew stop work. So the next morning we were able to get in contact with the construction overseer on the island. And he said, I've got really good news. There was no damage. The storm took a turn just before it hit the island and just grazed it. He says, I have some other good news. I just got a call from the village chiefs. Apparently the storm surge had washed up a bunch of sand over their road to their villages, and they had no way of removing it. So they said, we have plenty of sand. Can you come and help us get rid of it? So we ended up having enough sand for the rest of the project. Jehovah's blessing is the most important thing that we can have on our projects.
We are truly grateful for the privilege of being part of God's organization. And we want to again commend all of you for your generous support. And we've seen examples during this program of what has been accomplished using donated funds. There is no doubt that Jehovah is blessing all our efforts to speed up the work as His day is getting ever closer. We would like to conclude our JW Broadcasting program with these greetings from a Kingdom Hall build in the state of Louisiana in the United States. This congregation in Eunice was in need of a new Kingdom Hall after having used the same building since 1970. The congregation found a property that had been for sale for more than 5 years. Our brothers contacted the owners, who then decided to donate the property to the witnesses. It was later assessed to be worth $40,000 US.
Miracle sand, really, there it is, a blessing from Jehovah.
No damage was done to their island, but it blew all this sand onto the beach and in this way of this village to where they had no idea how to remove all this sand.
And before we make the sad comparison to this miracle sand, it's interesting to note that you heard earlier they needed 8 yards of sand to do some concrete work. And where did that sand come from?
The 8 yards came from the business where the boss just showed up
miraculously showed up.
Then they needed 80 yards, and they're in like a mini mart, and this guy that is like in the same mini mart with them is like, hey, I got 90 yards in my yard, I'll even bring it to you.
Well, that's true, but what I was going to bring out is that this man that owned the business and just miraculously showed up, gave them the sand they needed, and then disappeared. Think about this, Jehovah's Witnesses. This is a worldly man. Let's just run this scenario by you. Let's say this man shows up, gives them the sand they need, and then disappears. It was a miracle. The following Saturday morning, this guy gets a knock on his door from 2 Jehovah's Witnesses. And they offer the Wake and Watch Tower. And the guy says, nah, I'm not interested. Doesn't say a word that he had just donated all this sand so you could build your kingdom hall. He's just not interested. Shuts the door. The two Jehovah's Witnesses are walking back to their vehicle. I know, because I used to have the same mindset. Well, there's another goat that's going to die at Armageddon. The very world that is helping you build these kingdom halls on occasions like this is the same very world that you have convinced yourself are incapable of showing love, and it's the same very world that you've condemned to death. Do you not see how that is a very mentally diseased mind that you're playing with right now? The very world that's showing you love to build this kingdom hall, somewhere, someplace, somewhere in time, a pair of Jehovah's Witnesses are going to condemn them to death because they didn't accept your truth. How sad.
This whole organization condemns the world as Satan's organization and worthy of death. I mean, the literature throughout the decades is full of it. Well, what's interesting is at the end of the clip that we just showed, this person donated a lot, worth $50,000 so that they could build their kingdom hall. So there's another example. They're condemned the world to death, and
they're the very ones helping them build these kingdom halls.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get that.
So how can you condemn the rest of the world to death that is very good, doing good works? The Mormon Church, you condemn them all to death when they're doing humanitarian aid in 185 countries.
Yep.
It just amazes us,
That's why they're sick in the head.
Yeah, they're the ones mentally diseased.
Exactly.
It's not us because, we see what is really going on and the truth of the matter.
But here's the real sad reality. While this brother's being interviewed and he's alluding to the fact that Jehovah blessed them with a miracle pile of sand and that these two chiefs came together, Jehovah motivated them. You know darn well, Jehovah's Witnesses, how this mind concept works because we've all been part of it.
Jehovah is helping them with all these buildings.
So I have a question. Watch the next clip.
Yeah.
When Super Typhoon Haiyan made landfall on November 8, 2013, many of these witnesses were in the direct path of the storm. As the storm approached, many families evacuated their homes to more solid structures. 60 persons sought shelter at the Kingdom Hall. A 5-meter-high storm surge crashed into the building, collapsing the walls. Many were swept away. 22 people died. Cheryl, just 13 years old, was one of those swept away by the surge. She survived by climbing a tree.
Palagi nila akong pinapatibay.
The brothers tell me that in these last days, we cannot avoid calamities like this.
Iwasan yung ganitong mga pangyayari.
Only Cheryl and her brother survived.
I lost my home. I lost my family members. And temporarily, I lost my trust in God.
About 15 kilometers south of Tacloban City, 44 members of the Tanawan congregation sought refuge in their Kingdom Hall.
You see, we're a big family here. My mother, my children, my grandchildren.
We stayed here until the typhoon arrived. The winds intensified and the seawater started to flood our Kingdom Hall.
I was there joining them in prayer. The water started rushing in.
Because of the impact of the wind and the water and the waves, the windows were destroyed.
That side over there was open. The debris came in and I was swept outside. When I was being swept away, a big piece of wood floated by and I grabbed onto it because I don't know how to swim.
Tapos, doon na kami.
I was swept past that house and farther away. There was debris all over me.
I asked those in my group, "Have you seen my mother?" The waves came crashing, the wind blew. That was the time when the Kingdom Hall started to float. I was strengthened from contemplating the meaning of the year text. It says, "Jehovah, your God, is with you."
Amazingly, their Kingdom Hall was lifted from its foundation and moved 15 meters. All 44 survived.
Almost 100% of the brothers' homes are destroyed. This is where we sleep. Our room, right there.
Many lost their entire means of living because of the extensive damage to the coconut groves and the fishing industry.
When the typhoon struck, we are inside the Kingdom Hall. After the meeting, some of the brothers stayed in the Kingdom Hall, and other half of the group went to the sister's house, especially the children's. Everything, the ceiling fell down and the roof is gone. So when we saw that our lives are in danger, we protected one another. And we heard it sounds like the hundreds of horses are running on the ceiling. Another brother say, "Put your monoblock chair on your head." So we put the monoblock chair. Everybody of us are using the monoblock chair to protect our head. So that's the roofing material hitting his monoblock chair. That was so dangerous. We're all trembling because of the cold. We are all wet. Even the baby is crying here.
All 47 congregation members survived.
So my question is, why didn't Jehovah save not only these kingdom halls from being destroyed, why did he not spare the lives also? This is where you people need to do some serious contemplation as to what is blessings from God and what are not. Because if your God Jehovah cares more about producing sand out of a storm than saving human lives during a storm, that your fellow brothers and sisters, you people have got some serious problems going on. Yeah. You truly do.
Well,
because this God Jehovah cares more about sand than he does human life, according to your theology.
Well, why would he help you build your 3 kingdom halls in Micronesia and then allow 3 to be destroyed in the Philippines? It doesn't make sense.
No, it's because there has to be an equalizing. You know how Watchtower uses this scripture on money? You know, for those that have a lot more money and those that have less, you need to give your money so that there's an equalizing. Well, that's why Jehovah allowed those 3 kingdom halls in the Philippines to be destroyed and these 3 in Micronesia to be built, so there's an equalizing.
Unbelievable.
Unfrigging believable that you people can even think that way.
Is it possible that the sand just blew up on the beach out of just, I don't know, maybe plain dumb doodah luck?
Yeah. God had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. You know, why would he bless you to get these kingdom halls built? Mormons are building these chapels or meeting houses every day of the year. So does that mean that your God Jehovah is helping them build all of their chapels?
If you're statistically driven, if you're driven by statistics, then the Mormon Church definitely has God's blessing and not the Watchtower Bible Tract Society. If this is how you're going to approach this subject, Jehovah's Witnesses and or ex-members that have members that are still Jehovah's Witnesses and are using statistics, then this is one way to combat it. But the problem is you've got to get them to see that. And there's the problem.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this MormonNewsroom.org link down below in the description. So you just have to click on that and go right to their statistics. And I'm thinking here in a few months they'll have 2015 statistics, which will be more of an equalizing. I guess I should have gotten 2014 or numbers for Watchtower, but I mean it really didn't matter because the Mormons' numbers are still greater than...
Well, and here's the other thing. You would have to find out when the Mormon Church cuts off their service year. Because, see, Watchtower cuts their service year off in September so that by January of the following year, they already have a publication out.
Yeah. Yeah, because the service year ends at the end of August. Or September.
Right, and their
then
new service year.
And then by December, January, their yearbook comes out for those numbers. Right. Whereas it appears the Mormons go from January to December.
Right, and that's why they don't have those statistics out yet.
Yeah. But I figured it was close enough for a good enough comparison.
Yeah. So, we're not quite done with my favorite little clown. We've got another video we're going to be working on because I really think that these JW broadcasts are really, really getting ridiculous. And we're going to show just how ridiculous they're getting.
Well, another interesting point is we always get a lot of people saying, okay, I have a family member and they're asking for proof that they were letting go Bethel members or that they're stopping construction on a lot of kingdom halls and stuff. What proof is there that I can show my witness family? Well,
are you not watching your own JW broadcasts? Are you not watching your own programs?
Yeah. So for those of you that contact me asking this for proof of this, it's on the JW broadcast and it's the annual meeting.
Yeah.
And I forget which part it was because it's in 3 parts and I know it's 4 hours.
It's the one with Samuel Hurd, right?
Yeah. So all you have to do, I believe it was in part 1, if I remember right, where he read the letter that every branch was asking to reduce their Bethel workers. Like in Japan, we've heard that so far they've let 100 go from that.
Yeah.
And the same amount, in several other branches.
But it's just incredible that these current Jehovah's Witnesses think that the apostates are spreading lies when they're not watching their own broadcast. They're not watching my favorite little clown.
Yeah.
So, Jehovah's Witnesses, figure this out. The apostates ain't lying. All we're doing is we're repeating the bullshit that you think is bullshit coming from the mouth of people like this and Hurd.
Yeah. A lot of this information we get right from the JW broadcast.
Yeah, this is to me, this is mind-blowing because here they are. They're supposed to be the most spiritual people in the world. I mean, hell, even when I was a JW, I used to say that nobody knows the Bible better than Jehovah's Witnesses. And we didn't even have the JW broadcast available to us. But yet they've got the JW broadcast, and then we're repeating what's on their broadcast, and we're getting called the liars. I mean, really, honestly, Watchtower, you guys know damn well that your whole program with Watchtower is crumbling because when your members can't even watch your own TV programs and then call us liars because all we're doing is repeating what you're saying, that tells you that the effect that you guys are having or had is you're losing it. Because if your members can't even watch your own TV evangelism programs, what does that tell you? You've lost control.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've heard of some elders even admitting that they don't watch it.
Well, how long ago was it that those 2 sisters were out here, and they even admitted they don't watch the programs.
This past summer, when the 2 sisters showed up, I brought something up from their May broadcast about them, needing money, and they hadn't heard that. And I says, well, it's right on your JW broadcasting. And they're like, oh, I don't watch that. Oh my God, how can you do the preaching work if you're not going to keep up to date on some of the stuff that they give you on the JW Broadcasting?
Yeah.
How do you think we know stuff ahead of time?
Well, I love being, I love being the informed one and then being called the liar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love being the informed one and then being called the liar. Yeah.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
So, JW apologists, watch the broadcast before you start calling us liars.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching, and welcome to all our new subscribers. And thank you to all of our ones who have already subscribed and watch us. And hopefully we'll get to our nails and coffin soon.
Yes, yeah, we do. The list has grown a little bit more since our last one, so we need to do that, and then we need to do the other broadcast.
Yep.
With my favorite little clown.
Yeah.
So
you all have a great weekend.
Say goodbye, Lett. Goodbye.